How's it hanging, everyone? I got some more clips. I'm gonna try to release these every day or every other day, but here we go.
So now you're telling me that we just weren't going to talk about the fact that there have been portal sightings apparently all over the world? So you didn't think that was something we should talk about? Because, yeah, there's apparently been a lot of stories about portals just showing up all around the world, including some stories of accusations of a religious figure of sorts opening a portal. I don't know how I feel about that one. But yeah, there's been all of these portal sightings, and most recently, the video that I just watched that inspired me to make this video was a guy filming a portal, and he's got it on film, and then all of a sudden, an old timey plane, that's all I can say, comes out of the portal, which had got me thinking, what if what's on the other side of those portals, like their technology is in fact advanced and it's super technologically more advanced than ours, but once they enter into our universe, it goes into something that would be categorized as unharmful or something that wouldn't instill fear. So I was like, so now I fell, obviously you can tell, down the portal rabbit hole. And yeah, have you fallen down the portal rabbit hole yet? Because now I want to talk about this because there's so much to talk about. So remember, conversation and entertainment purposes. But yeah, let me know. Let's have this conversation.
Looks like Blue Beam Tech, right? Um, I mean, if this is real, this is a real clip. I don't know. I'm guessing that's like the type of technology they would use. um, I mean, I guess it could be a portal. I don't know. I know, like, part of the reason why they released AI was so everybody thinks, oh, it's automatically AI, if they see anything like crazy like that.
Showed that Hillary Clinton took exceptional interest in the search for the tomb of Gilgamesh. There is an ongoing conspiracy theory that the real motivation for the invasion of Iraq was to find the tomb of Gilgamesh. Why on earth would Hillary Clinton be interested in Gilgamesh?
Gilgamesh, he was a giant. He was half god, half man. He was on a quest for immortality. I think they really wanted to find his tomb to see if they can do a DNA test.
One of the things that they might have recovered in Iraq was a Stargate.
Saddam was learning how to activate these things. He was getting ready to expose this to the world. His new museum that he had just built with all the information that can prove that there was an ancient advanced civilization and an ancient airport with beings flying and landing here in Iraq. And they were going to expose all of this.
Spaceships.
Yeah.
Yeah, they said like there was a museum or something like that during the invasion that it was like destroyed or something like that, but like very specific things were stolen. Um, yeah, something like that. I forget. I don't know. There's more to that. I would say yeah, they probably were looking for Gilgamesh's tomb. Nimrod is probably who that is. Um, yeah, I know there's that video of um, it looks like a guy that's preserved. That's that's dead, but that looks like preserved or something like that. I don't know.
Conspiracy theory for you today. And I'm just going to start out by saying it's a lot easier to control the masses and control the narrative around something through emotional manipulation. So you'll notice if something is considered a tragedy, it's like totally taboo to ask questions about it. Case closed, that's it. So if there's people in the comments that have a problem with this or calling me insensitive for talking about this, that's fine, because if it's true, that's the desired outcome. Anyways, this is the crew of the 1986 Challenger space shuttle mission. Infamously, on January 28, 1986, the space shuttle exploded right after takeoff. The disaster was broadcast on live television to 40 million viewers. Two men, Bob Eberling and Roger Boisjolly, worked tirelessly to warn NASA about an issue with the shuttle's O-rings, making calls and warning anyone that would listen going all the way back to October the prior year. They warned that if these O-rings were used on a launch on a day that was below 40 degrees Fahrenheit, that there would be a catastrophe. But of course, no one listened, which automatically kind of makes me think they wanted the catastrophe to happen. Roughly 80 seconds after the launch, the shuttle exploded and all 7 crew members lost their lives. This is Judy Resnick, an engineer and pilot aboard the Challenger mission. In 2013, an eagle-eyed internet user found Judith Resnick, a law professor at Harvard Law School. Some people were a little taken aback by the identical name, age, and likeness, so they started digging. This is Michael J. Smith, also an engineer and pilot aboard the Challenger shuttle, who passed away that fateful day in 1986 at the age of 39 years old. This is Dr. Michael J. Smith, professor of engineering at the University of Wisconsin. This is Sharon Krista McAuliffe, arguably one of the most famous things about the Challenger mission. She was supposedly just a teacher that was picked at random to be one of the astronauts, which made it all the more tragic when she passed away due to the Challenger disaster in 1986. This is Sharon A. McAuliffe, also a law professor who received her degree shortly after the Challenger disaster. Dick Scobie was the commander of the mission. Here's Commander Dick Scobie next to Richard Scobie, the CEO of Cows and Trees. Here's his company's original logo. It's a cow, but it's not in a tree. It's strapped to a rocket, and gee, that jet stream kind of looks familiar. In fact, just in case I wasn't making it clear, the top picture is the Challenger ship shortly after exploding. So, Astronauts Ronald McNair and Ellison Onizuka both passed away when the Challenger shuttle exploded. Miraculously, it was found out that they both had twin brothers, Carl McNair and Claude Onizuka. But ancestry searches were done for both Carl and Claude, and there was no birth records found. And the odds of two sets of identical twins in a crew of 7 are astronomical. But that's just a theory. Rest in peace to the crew of the Challenger space shuttle mission.
Yeah, they just think we're stupid. I mean, especially old boy with the eyes, that are real spaced apart, real far spaced apart. Like that dude is definitely that old dude. It's crazy.
These hunters claimed that they ended a dogman in a Michigan forest.
Hunters in Michigan wilderness standing over the body of something that should not exist. One hunter held the jaws open to display rows of vicious teeth.
Insane if it's real.
I don't know about that one. There's one spot you see. Oh, let me get it right there. How his thumb goes through the lip. I don't know. I guess there could be a hole or something. But yeah, I don't know about that one. Maybe, I guess.
Or something pretending to be one.
Dude's got hair.
The caption calls it Mothman, but the face looks almost like a bird wearing a human expression. The clip is simple, but it hits a nerve. A lone fence line, darkness behind it, and a massive shape sitting upright like it owns the land. The eyes don't glow red like the classic Mothman stories, yet the stare is so sharp it feels personal, like it's sizing him up. That's why the theories split fast. Some swear it's a giant owl or a hawk caught in the worst possible lighting, and that this exact image has been floating around for years. Others don't care what species it is, because nothing should look that big on a fence post, and the way it holds itself feels wrong. The jokes turn into prayers. People talk about bowing, not making eye contact, even throwing the whole Bible at it. And then there's the darker take. If it isn't a bird, why does it look like it understands it's being seen?
I have a weird story about an owl. When I was like 17, 18 maybe, I was driving a buddy home. He lived out in the country. And I was driving. There was a highway that led part of the way there, right? It wasn't like a 4 lane; it was like a 2 lane highway. But I was driving down it, right, and there's this owl sitting right in the middle of my lane, and like I tried to veer over to go around it, and there was like a bunch of wind pushing me, like pushing the car, and like I couldn't get over, and I slammed into it, slapped into it, and I just kept going, but I always thought that was weird. And this feller, I don't know. I mean, it's pretty crazy looking.
Was Dracula. There was a real man in Ireland, not Transylvania, who had to be unalive multiple times over and over again because he kept coming back and draining everybody of blood. It's the kind of vampire, I think Remick from Sinners, this what he was. Hey, if you don't have time to watch this video, just save, follow, and just come back later, gang, because we got to move on. This is going to be a very interesting video. In ancient Ireland, there was a man known as Harvartu. He was described as a sorcerer and a tyrant. So Harvartu is said to be unalive and buried, only to rise from the grave and do it again. He kept like coming back, draining people who were unalive, put him in the ground, standing up at that, and he kept coming back, gang. In this story, we explored the chilling legend of the first real vampire in Ireland. So while y'all think Bram Stoker made Dracula based on Vlad the III, and Pale all the Vlad, no. It was made after this man, this very evil, terrifying man. To this day, his grave still exists in Northern Ireland. The stone's still on top of it that the people put so he won't get out one more time. I'm not gonna tell you guys exactly where it is. I don't want you guys visiting Ireland, think you can go over there and do research or be nosy. Whatever y'all like to do. No, we're not doing it over here, not on my page, so don't worry about it. If anybody from Ireland is on my page, I know a few of you follow me, don't tell them, please. Americans is nosy, please. So let me tell you about Bram Stoker. So like I said, Bram Stoker is the writer and author of Dracula. But he went to Trinity College in Dublin, and on display at the school, there was a book, Harvatuk Raf Hul, which means dwarf of tainted blood. It literally was a whole book at this man's college about the first vampire. So I guess allegedly how they finally stopped him, they said they drove a sword, called it something else. I can't pronounce the word, but basically the translation is a wooden stake. So that must be where the wooden stake, started from or came from. The lore about it, I guess. Then they placed him upside down this time in the grave, buried him, and then put this stone on top. So funny enough about all this info, it's fairly new history. Found this all out about Harvatuk around the year 2000. So I wonder what more we have to discover, or uncover, I should say. So it makes so much more sense. Remick from Sinners, why he was an Irish vampire. Celtic lore runs very deep, y'all. So let me know if you guys want to hear more about this guy, Bram, or just about Celtic lore in general. The Irish, they have their own vampire lore, werewolf lore, mermaid lore. Really all the supernatural lore that we have, they have their own, but just a little bit different. And they have a huge fairy problem. Huge. I'm Cube of Lore. This is Forbidden Lore Season 2, Vampires. If you like content like this, you want to stay on this side of the algorithm, don't forget to engage at the bottom of, y'all already know, repost, save, comment, and like. My supporters, appreciate y'all. Thank you so much. I love y'all down. I think we're currently at like 95,000 followers, something like that. And it's only because of you guys, so I appreciate y'all. Thank you. I'm literally probably one of the only creators that know I'm not bigger than the program, and y'all are the program. So my supporters, I'll see y'all in the comments. Let me know what y'all think. This is very interesting tea. And if you're not a supporter and you're new here, go ahead and follow, friend. You sat here with me, chilled, caught a vibe, watched a video, go ahead and follow. What's the problem? If you're viewing this from the tube of you, make sure you sub up to Cube of the Lord and like on top of Cube Oxley, my second page as well. As always, gang, it's only for entertainment purposes only. Allegedly, hypothetically speaking, I don't know nothing about the Irish. Put my notifications on so you don't miss a post, and I'll be live tonight. Let's talk about some of this. All right, call me back after y'all watch this video. All right, bye.
I know I'm sure if they did exist, they're like Nephilim or fallen angels, something along that lines. What was I gonna say? I know, like I've heard before that vampires are based off of the fake people in the Middle East. You know what I'm talking about? That say they are one people but aren't. You know. Anyways, I know I read this book like a couple years ago. It was like about Bram Stoker, and it was called like Dracul, or I don't know, something weird like that. But it was like saying he was way more involved, like he wasn't just the writer, like he lived it, or something like that. It was like a descendant of Bram Stoker wrote it. I don't know. I'd say it's not true, but maybe.
This, and some knucklehead films me, and the next thing
As your firm, Mr. Edwards and Mr. Jaffe, has been described by the U.S. Attorney as perpetrating one of the largest frauds in South Florida.
I don't know what the heck happened there. Hold on a second.
Own
Try it
business,
again.
and some knucklehead films me, and the next thing I
Oh, I guess it was fine.
As your firm, Mr. Edwards and Mr. Jaffe, has been described by the U.S. Attorney as perpetrating one of the largest frauds in South Florida.
I don't think that dude's him. I know he looks a lot like him. Maybe I don't think so. 'Cause I think his like half of his face doesn't look like him. I know he looks a lot like him, but I don't think that's him. I think he's hanging out in the Middle East.
Many people go missing in the U.S. National Park system. One theory suggests that the government knows that those are danger zones, and it's called containment theory. When you think about it, the whole United States could have been a national park. So why did the United States government pick those specific zones to designate as the national park system? Now, it's no secret that most of those surround mountains. So why are these people going missing at alarming rates? Per capita, more people go missing in the national park system than any other place in the entire world. So what is containment theory? Containment theory is that there are portals and dimensions that we can't quite see or understand. It's one of the theories on why creatures like Bigfoot are so hard to find, is that they might not even live in our plane of existence, but they just come and go through it every so often. You might have saw our video the other night of Dennis Martin, the 6-year-old little boy who was playing hide and go seek with his family, and as soon as he went around this tree, he disappeared forever. And here we are 40 years later, and not a single trace of him has ever been found, even though after he went missing, immediately there was more than 1,400 rescuers looking for him. His dad saw him go behind the tree, and he was just gone. So the theory is that when he went behind that tree, he either somehow went into that tree or into one of these portals that just made him vanish. And a lot of people say this is silly and this is, a joke. You can look up right now that NASA 100% confirmed that portals exist. They just don't know how they work or where they work. Now, in their theories, they only exist like in outer space. Why would they not exist here? Okay, so we know most national parks are around mountain ranges. Now, mountain ranges are just essentially pushed up rocks from deep within our Earth. And we know, once again, with a scientific fact, that these rocks, these minerals, these quartz, these crystals, they give off electromagnetic fields. So if you're talking about something that's generating electricity, now quartz specifically are really unique, guys. If you did not know it, quartz under pressure emit large enough EMF fields that you can actually just buy a detector from like Ace Hardware, and a quartz will actually register on an EMF field. That's how much energy these things are pushing out when they're put under pressure. Not your ones that are sitting on your counter, but a quartz that's being pushed under pressure. It's like a mountain that's squeezing all those minerals together. They're just blasting EMF fields out. Okay, we don't know what that does to us, our surroundings, what kind of phenomenons that could create, and we'd be silly if we acted like we did know, okay? Many people speculate that that's why the Egyptians had their pyramids built out of these different crazy rocks and stuff, is because they knew how to harness these powers of electromagnetic fields. That might have been how they were able to build their pyramids in the first place. So this containment theory suggests that the government knows that, okay, this whole area, these things appear, this whole area, these things appear, so let's make them national parks. That way you can't build on top of them with all these different neighborhoods and Walmarts and structures. So we know people are still going to go there and they're going to disappear. And that's a risk that it's acceptable to us. We just don't want there to be a whole town built there. And that's the reason why containment theory is that they're trying to limit the amount of people that go through there. And they even say that some of these really high potential portal places is why they limit passes like Havasu Falls. And, you have to have there's a limited amount of passes sold to these places that you can go there. It makes total complete sense. And if you look back like at Theodore Roosevelt, the guy who essentially made the national park system, he believed in tons of supernatural stuff, tons of supernatural stuff. Like just go look at some of the stuff he believed in. And he's the one that essentially wrote the boundaries for the national parks. Now, if you look at the national park systems, almost every national park has places that are called Devil's Peak, Devil's Bend, Devil's Clutch, all these different names. And people say, well, that's just superstitious, or, whatever. No, any place with the name devil in it that's been named that since like the 1800s or prior is because there was mass deaths or mass disappearances. There's like no exception, okay? Like anything that's got a devil in the name, they wrote that back then because back then people spoke different language and different words, but devil is pretty universal. And they wanted people to see on a map if something was labeled devil, whatever, it wasn't just a slightly dangerous area. It meant like avoid this area at all costs. Like that is a place we should not go. Some bad stuff has happened there. So they would label on these maps devil because a lot of people didn't read, but a lot of people recognize religious words like Jesus, devil, Satan. They recognize those religious words because they'd grown up seeing them. So that's why so many places are Devil's Peak and all this stuff. Pay attention when things are called devil something and don't be hanging around there by yourself. But back to this portal theory. There's another theory that goes into Dennis Martin with this tree situation. And it's the encased tree theory. And this one gets creepy. This is a rabbit hole for you. The encased tree theory is that the fae, the nature spirits, when they're out there, sometimes they grow fond of people, especially children. And the Irish and Scottish, they'll tell you the Fae they're a sucker for kids. They like taking them because they're enthralled with them. A lot of them can't have children of their own supposedly, and they're jealous of like that joy and the energy and their youthfulness because most Fae are ancient. So when he went around that tree, it could have been that there was a Fae or some kind of nature spirit that just sucked him into that tree and he was gone. The amount of people that have been found in hollowed out trees is kind of astonishing. It's kind of creepy if you want to go down that hole. Loggers have cut down trees before and human remains are in them and they're like, how did this even get in here? And the theory is that at some point they got into a hole in the tree and then the tree's hole grew up or somebody put them in there or whatever over time, or they got stuck in there. There's a million different theories on why this phenomenon has happened so many times in the past, but what remains is sometimes people are just found encased in trees and we don't know why. Okay. Containment theory. It's a great loophole to go down and a rabbit hole to go down. And what's even creepier is when you get into the places that are like extreme no light zones. And some people say it's sky pollution. People go out here and stargaze. There are some places where rescuers have to get permission to use electronics. That includes flashlights, their vehicles, or anything. In a life and death situation, you're telling me that the rescuers have to wait to get permission? To me, that sounds like there is something out there that gets disturbed by the lights and they do not want that thing being pissed off. Here's the crazy side of containment theory. Containment theory is also a belief that the government made a deal with these essentially like supernatural creatures, like we're going to go ahead and get wild, like vampires. And the government essentially said, hey guys, the U.S. National Park System is your hunting ground. You're allowed to hunt there. You can't hunt outside of it. That's where it gets real wild if you want to go down that one too. Just don't take my word for it. It's a wild ride.
I'm gonna do a video on that containment theory. I'm gonna look into it because that's interesting. I know I'm like really sick of hearing about children going missing. Um, I know you hear I've heard on other videos that talk about the underground tunnels how um that's why they go missing. They get taken down there, unfortunately. I don't know, but I hate that it's happening, and I hate that these freaks in office and celebrities, are doing that kind of stuff. You know what I'm talking about. Um, I know, they'll get with everything will work out eventually. I believe that. Anyways, I appreciate you watching. That's the last clip we got. I'll have another video tomorrow, or I'm gonna try to do it every day to every other day. Thank you for watching. God bless you and your families. Bye.